the top of page 60. This Shabbat Shirah, the story of our redemption, our people crossing the sea, God's might, God intervening in the world, and our people redeemed. And we know the Midrash of Nachshon, the first one into the sea. And we know the Midrash that says 1 in 5, 1 in 50, only 1 in 500 of the Israelites actually made it out. And I wonder, among those who were unable to cross the sea, but who wanted to, I wonder among those who were unable to cross the sea, who of them were sick? Who of them were not well? Who of them were in need of healing of body, in need of spirit? And I wonder how our ancestors responded to them. I wonder if they carried them in their hearts across the sea, even though they had to make the difficult choice to carry forward. And I wonder tonight how many of us are carrying people whom we love in our lives, people in need of healing of body, in need of healing of spirit, in need of being redeemed just as we were and just as we are and will be again. So as we turn together to page 253 from Misha Berach Lecholim, let us hold those people in our hearts. Prayers for the healing of Dean Adams, Clara Bridges, Avraham ben Miriam, Avraham ben Meir, Chana bat Miriam, Scott Cohen, Jen Cronin, Phil DeSimone, Lindsay Earhart, Holly Rosenfink, Akila Forrest, Jessica Knudsen, Malka bat Mordechai and Frida, Louise Friedman, Robert Friedman, Dr. Donald Fry, Terry Juntoff, Milton Kafoglis, Carol K. and Irv K. Phyllis Lazarus, Mike Meskin, Jeffrey Mullins, Rose Oberg, Blake Alexander Spatz, Rachmiel Ben Wolf, Eileen Rosengard, Jacqueline Solemnfriend, Shendel Batsviv and Mincha, Shulamit Rivka Bat Mordechai Ufanina, Carol Small, Rose Sugarman, and Angela Wells. If there are people in your lives in need of healing, we invite you to share their names with us now. We've shared and those we hold in our hearts, we pray that the Holy One, blessed be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived.
asked me to play a song I haven't played in 25 years, but I'm going to do my best. And I'm sure there's a reason for it. Okay. There we go.
Sing unto God, sing a new song, oh, sing praises to God. Give thanks to God with a song, oh, sing praises unto the Lord our God. Have you heard that song?
Just when I was having fun.
Songs from the early 1970s, maybe even the late 1960s, one of the first songs written by Debbie Friedman, whose great contributions to American Jewish music we remember this evening. Debbie died 3 years ago this week. We observe her York site this weekend. Debbie's contributions are enormous, and you know her music. Think of this melody. La 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 ya la 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 la. What's that melody for? Havdalah. You ever wonder, what did people sing for Havdalah before Debbie Friedman wrote that melody in the 1970s? Oh, we just finished singing. This is even more interesting because before Debbie Friedman wrote that Mishaberach melody, there's no way we ever said those words in a Reformed congregation. She repurposed a centuries-old Jewish ritual of asking for blessing of healing, and how did she make it work? She made it work with the melody. We now call Debbie Friedman's melodies traditional. But it wasn't always so. It was the Summer of Love, 1969. Jeff, Debbie Friedman, and I were campers at the UAHC Kutz Camp in Warwick, New York. Up the road, Woodstock was taking place. During the summer, men walked on the moon. But we were much more interested in other things. We were interested in owning our own Judaism. And Debbie Friedman was the leader. She took texts we were using every day in our services and our programs, and she made them live. Think of this, one of her first songs, words from our prayer book of 1969, the Union Prayer Book. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee on this day shall be upon thy heart, shall be in thy heart. Debbie took the words of the Union Prayer Book and made them live for us. She also took texts. Now, I watch Glee, and I watch their mashups, where they take two different songs and they pull them together. Well, Debbie was the queen of Jewish mashups. She took different texts and put them together, as in this song. And then by putting them together, people think that they were always together. Think of this song, one text by Theodor Herzl, and one from the text of Hatikva.
And it's not even a text. It's something he said. If you want something, you know, don't dream it, do it. And that's what
Debbie took a text, which we all knew, and by sending it to a melody, which we learned and loved, she made it become a part of us. Most of all, Debbie was an educator. She was a teacher. And she knew that for every 100 holiday, there were words that we were supposed to be learning. There were historical words, but they weren't ringing true for us. So she went to the text of Zechariah, the text we read at Hanukkah time, and she wrote this melody to the words, not by might, not by power.
Which is, certainly you know it from Hanukkah if you come to shul, because it's the Haftarah for Hanukkah. Reform Jews are always talking about the message of the prophets and the prophetic voice. But when it gets to individual prophets, well, we don't know much about who they were. And Debbie dug down into the text and said, here are words from the prophets. She did it with Joel and Micah and Isaiah, and here with Zechariah. So we want you to clap along and sing along with Not by Might. 1, 2, 3, 4. But by Spirit alone shall we all live in peace. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone shall we all live in peace. Come on, clap it out. Children sing and children dream, but their tears may fall, you'll hear them call. Another song will rise, another song will rise, another song will rise. Everyone, not by might, not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit alone shall we all live in peace. One more time. Not by might and not by power, but by Spirit alone shall we all live in peace. Make it finish. Not by might, not by power.
So how did the Jewish world respond to Debbie Friedman?
It depends who you were. The kids loved her. I was a kid.
Well, everyone who is now, in their 50s and 60s and were exposed to this music at that time loved it. But the Jewish establishment was not very comfortable with this. They thought this did not sound like Jewish music. They rejected it. Why? Because the beat was not 1 and 3, it was 2 and 4. It's like the American popular music influence came to Jewish music and the beat changed. And Debbie took chances. She experimented.
I don't think Reform traditional music ever had a beat. It's very hard to tap your toes to Come O Sabbath Day. Come O Sabbath Day. So the point we're trying to make here is Debbie changed the geography. She changed the landscape of music, not first in the Reform movement, but then it percolated out to conservative, Reconstructionist, even Orthodox.
And one of the things that Debbie taught us, because we were just starting to write, is that not everything that you write is going to make it with the Jews. Some things they will love, and some things they will not. So on the same album that had Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy soul, which people really loved, there was this melody, which very interesting, very jazz influenced, but didn't go so well with the cantors.
If I remember, when you listen to her doing that, just go to iTunes and it's a beautiful, soulful rendition. And then she wrote.
So the cantors very much rejected this. The Jewish music establishment rejected it. So she turned to writing a lot of melodies for religious school audiences. And I remember very clearly being a parent in the 1980s and turning on the local PBS station and watching Barney. And one day, Barney the dinosaur, much to my surprise, started singing this.
2, 3, 4.
Aleph, bet, bet.
Aleph, bet, bet. Gimel, dal, bet. Vav, zayin, bet, bet. Yud, kaf, shaf.
Yud, kaf, shaf. That's how we knew it wasn't really a Jewish dinosaur.
At Debbie Friedman's funeral, Professor Deborah Lipstadt looked at the congregation and said, "How many of you learned the Aleph Bet from Debbie's song?" And almost every hand, of the younger people, of course.
But
okay, now for something serious.
In the 1980s, as an illness, a chronic illness, befell Debbie that she never really lost, and it became physically difficult for her to perform. But more importantly, she was watching a lot of pain and illness around her. This is the middle of the AIDS epidemic of the 80s. And Debbie's music changed in that time period. Her politics changed during that time period. So a song that would have the word that we sing, "Not by Might," any song that had the word man became people. Things that would never really occur to us, our awakening of the abilities of men and women to both share in Jewish tradition, came very powerfully to her, and her voice changed. A voice for healing, a voice for feminism, a voice for spirituality. And it's this approach to spirituality that Debbie championed so brilliantly. She took words, Jewish text words, usually translated them into English, then created melodies that made us desperately want to envelop them and sing them and take them into our hearts. Try this song with us.
And I would just like to say, and I appreciate Dan taking what you could write into a whole book and putting it into one little chunk for you. The thing that Debbie hated the most about synagogues is when people came and sat in their seat and put their hands on their lap and didn't move and just read a few English lines in the course of the service. And she felt so strongly and was never dissuaded that the most important thing for people to do when they come to synagogue was to open their mouths and sing. And she started with that, and I can tell you personally, because I spent many hours with her singing, the kind of music that she taught and that she wrote helped us not just open up our mouths, but open up our hearts and our souls.
So she wrote, "Those who sow in tears will reap joy." We all live through very difficult times, but there's joy that can follow the tears. Psalm 126, is that not right? You're right.
Mizmor David. We say it with when we bench Birkat Hamazon on Shabbat holidays. So we keep doing it over and over. You'll hear Danny singing a different line, and that's just the Hebrew against the English. So come in wherever you want to, in harmony, we hope. 2, 3. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. That's all you have to say. For this one song, we have just another couple of minutes, so give it all you got. Here we go.
Debbie knew that within the heart of American Jews was a voice ready to burst out. She also knew that we needed to understand what we were singing. And so she took what she learned as a young person growing up in a Reformed congregation. We like to sing in English when we know what it means. And she gave us melodies to allow us to recapture our tradition. Sometimes in English, sometimes in Hebrew. She was inventive, she was spiritual, and she moved us from one period of Jewish history to another. Her memory will always be a blessing to all of us.
We're done? Yeah. And we'll have more of Debbie's songs to sing later tonight, so we hope you stay.
Yasher Koach to Jeff and to Danny for inspiring us with Debbie's music, which has, as you can see, shaped our entire movement and the people that we are today. So we'll continue to sing that music and your music, which is a part of our hearts as well. Let us join together. And by the way, after dinner this evening, Kol B'seder will be performing a concert right here, and you'll have a chance to hear more of Debbie's music and more of Kol B'seder's music, and we hope you'll join us. Please turn with us now in your prayer books to page 282 and rise with us for Aleinu L'Shabeach.
Aleinu L'Shabeach Adon HaKol, Latenu L'Yotzer Bereshit, Shelo Asanu K'goyei Haratzot, V'lo Samanu B'mishpachot Ha'adam. V'gor Aleinu Yehovah Amona.
Please be seated. Let us turn our thoughts now to those who have departed this earth, to our loved ones, those whom our friends and our neighbors have lost, to the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and to those of every single race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to all of humanity. On this Shabbat, we remember those who have been taken from us in recent days. During this period of Shloshim, this period of 30 days of remembrance, we recall Jean Neese, Bessie Feld, Dr. Paul Busker, Leslie Jane Tobias Miller, and Peter Mallon. And we recall the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing of the following members of our congregational family. We remember Leon Benardot, Beatrice Berliner, Leo J. Block, Sylvia G. Freeman, Irvin Fabian, Elsie B. Ford, Joseph V. Freitag Jr., Gloria Raymond Gavlin, Selma Hirsch Gordon, Sig Guffman, Dorothy Seelig Joel, Josephine Katz, Lawrence Kaufman, Lois Deach Kimmel, Ben Crone, Sally Mesnick, Dorothy W. Mursky, Josephine Weinberg Needle, Ann Morgan Rubin, Joanna Loeb Rosenbaum, Aaron Seth, Robert Shapiro, Matilda Soriano, Hugo M. Spitz, Oscar R. Strauss Jr., Stephen Weinstein, Sanford Wexler, Debbie Friedman, and we remember from Auschwitz the blessed memory of Rachel Fang. If anyone in our congregational family is observing yahrzeit and would like to share a name aloud, we invite you to stand in your place and share that name as together our eyes meet. In memory of our dear departed, we say Zichronam Livracha. May their memory endure among us as an everlasting blessing, as we turn together in our prayer books to page 294 and rise and speak Kaddish in memory of our departed. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayedechol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman karev v'yimru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha baruchu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'miran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom Rav min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved, and let us all say together, Amen. Amen. Immediately following our service, those who have registered for dinner, for Shabbat dinner, are invited to join us in Schwartz Goldstein Hall. Everybody, regardless of whether you're coming to dinner or not, is invited to come back around 8:15 or so that we can share together in this extraordinary Kol B'seder concert, which will feature both Klepper Freelander music and Debbie Friedman music. Many of the highlights of the upcoming week can be found, as always, in the handouts that you received, but I'll point to your attention first that the anti-sex trafficking initiative that has been such a part of our temple for the past year takes off in a big way this coming Sunday, January 12th at 2 o'clock. And I encourage you to read the description of the program so that you can come not only learn, but help us to make a difference in this horrific epidemic in our community. Of course, Martin Luther King Jr. Shabbat also takes place next Shabbat, January 17th at 8 o'clock in the evening. And one component that we're doing this year that is so important to know about is that partnering with the Union for Reform Judaism, we are participating this year in the Gift of Life campaign. The goal is to do a cheek swab of hundreds of members of the Jewish and African American community so that we can help individuals with rare blood diseases. And we're hoping to test hundreds of people next Shabbat. We hope that you'll join us. You can come as early as 5:30 next Shabbat to participate in this wonderful mitzvah opportunity. Please see the order of service for more highlights in the coming weeks. Again, if this is your first time joining us, we welcome you to our temple, our home, and of course wish Addison a Mazal Tov on behalf of all of us. We look forward to celebrating with you tomorrow.
So we close with the Debbie Friedman song at the top of page 345. Our blessing for one another on this Shabbat.
Debbie used to come to rabbinic school each year and she would teach the class that you can be a blessing. And she would invite us to put our arms around each other to remind us that we have the potential and the power to bless each other. So if you feel so moved, turn to your neighbors.
May we bless as we go on our way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing.
Come.